Friends and family, thank you for joining me here at the American News Network with Chris Sanders. Behind me, what you have here is Sir Lord Rothschild has died in the Hollywood Hills. And this is a major turn of events. He was holding some documents, even some that his family held, that created Israel. And it clearly described the area that they were going to occupy, in fact, 3 times as Palestine. As this plays, I'm going to let you know it's hostage day 53. We have 53 more days of being held hostage by Jackwagon Joe. I hope that we can all make it. He's trying his darndest to start World War III. He's trying to give Zelensky nuclear weapons. He gave him 50 ATACMS. He's already used all 50. I'm going to let you know, too, Zelensky termed out. Only 1 out of 5 people would vote for him. He is as popular as Jackwagon Joe. We got a lot of things that are happening here in the news, and the world is going great. Hope your Thanksgiving was wonderful. What we're doing is wonderful. What Jackwagon Joe is doing, he's trying to basically destroy the world before that Trump can get into office. He's scaring the bejesus out of everybody. He scares you. He scares me. He scares everybody. I mean, even little kids, they're terrified. So we have Putin, Vladimir Vladimirovich Putin, and he is setting some lines. He's basically letting us know that he can raise Kiev to the ground in 2 different fashions, either by boiling them to death at 2,000 degrees Celsius or by just going nuclear through hazelnut, and that would be a Reshnik. So we got other points to bring up here, and I'll bring them up, but that's kind of what's going on in the Jewish state of Ukraine right now. Biden is unfit to serve, but yet we're giving him the keys to start World War III against Putin, who has been a world leader now for 24 years, even since the Queen. Biden just fast-tracked $725 million to the Ukraine, but we have 107,000 homeless veterans that could have got a good $6,000 check. I'll let you know that. This is proven fraud now, and there are politicians in Russia, Ukraine, Poland, Moldova, Hungary, and Turkey that can prove that our government is laundering money to the Ukraine while they try to start World War III. And through the $725 million, they funded them to go another war. And Zelensky is a puppet, just kind of like, in my opinion, Netanyahu is too. And these would be war criminal puppets operating through the United States and BlackRock and our shadow government. And I think that Putin has shown a lot of restraint. So these are the Jewish states of Ukraine and Israel. And they've bled the United States dry through BlackRock, our new military industrialization complex. And oddly enough, Putin at this point is letting the world know that he doesn't think that President Trump is safe from his own shadow government. That was a wake-up call. I was like, wow. He was like, yeah, the people like Joe Biden, he thinks they're literally crazy, and they're going every way in which they can to blow up the world, and he thinks that they're literally insane. So is Biden now going to give Zelensky nuclear weapons? And so people don't know. Someone commented that Poland was safe. No, Poland's not safe. The U.S. nuclear missile base we have in Poland is one of the top places he's going to blow up fast. But when you study the demographics, the map around, let's say, the Ukraine, every country around them except Poland is on their side. And when you study Poland, Poland borders Russia through Kaliningrad. Okay. And so then it also borders the Ukraine. But to the south into Poland, we have a unification now Even Romania just elected a prime minister that is pro-Putin and anti-NATO, anti-EU. The EU is crumbling, NATO is crumbling. Oh yeah, we've got 1.7 million troops that were just committed through North Korea to help Putin in the war, with 3.5 million from Russia, 2 million from China. Even if NATO had 500,000 to 800,000, you'd be outnumbered by 6 million troops. That's a wake-up call. If you don't have serious technology, you're already defeated. The enemy is already inside. Newsflash also, France was kicked out of Chad and Niger. Oh yeah, they don't want this woke agenda. So I haven't even added up all 22 Arab nations, 2 billion Muslims in the entire country of Africa. Now on the side of Putin and BRICS, and not on the side of the United States, LGBTQ Israel. So if we want to give ATACMS to the Ukraine, Putin says, well, I can do the same thing tit for tat. I can give Iran Oreshnik to give that as a present to Israel. See, because it doesn't have the range to hit him in Moscow, so he can plant that there. In fact, he can plant that Oreshnik in Cuba or the Sarmat, and he can plant it in Venezuela, in Mexico, and Nicaragua. Imagine if another country was doing what we're doing. Would that piss you off? Because that's why he is pissed off. That's his point. Don't stick nuclear weapons in my backyard. He was like, you just gave Zelensky 50 missiles and he immediately used them. He used them with U.S. troops. We have confirmed French, United Kingdom, U.S. troops, NATO troops operating in the Ukraine. We have North Korean troops. Now the Yemen, the Houthis, the Russians, everybody's getting involved. $725 million arm package was just fast-tracked to the Ukraine. He wants to try to steal $24 billion more dollars. Ain't that nice? So, will Biden, good old hostage 52 is what I should call this. We're hostage 52 now. Will he give him nuclear weapons, or did that unfit, decrepit, delinquent jackwagon Joe I'm talking about, did he give him nuclear weapons? So, Article 2, Section 4, bribery. You know, there's treason, there's bribery, and in my opinion, America, we have to get rid of lobbyists, because it's the drug company lobbyists and the lobbyists from Israel and Ukraine, and a lot of them are using the money that was in our budget. It gets slingshot back around, in my suspected opinions. But in the Constitution, it uses that word bribery. Isn't that where you take money for a favor? Well, how is being a lobbyist any different? We need to make lobbying illegal. Period. It's ruining our country. So, I mean, this peace plan, also, I want to just say the ceasefire, every time Netanyahu is given one, he's just lying. And as Jack Wagon Joe was talking about the ceasefire, simultaneously, Netanyahu was gathering the troops, getting ready to go to war. Then he goes out and basically murders a lot of people that were believing him once again. So this criminal is now, there was another decision that was done by not just the international criminal courts, but other people over that. And he is now wanted by more countries for war crimes. So does he have a lot of power? Now, understand, I was showing you how Speaker Johnson called him when he was introduced His Excellency, Mr. Netanyahu. And that's a violation on Article 1, Section 9, Article 1, Section 10, giving a title of nobility. And here that's prohibited for anybody in Congress or to have an introduction of a king or a queen or His Excellency, Mr. Netanyahu, Prime Minister of Israel. And I think that when you study even how Marco Rubio has taken $1 million, how many other ones have taken a ton of money? And I'm also of the mind where we can't have longer than 8 years serving in any term, including especially the Supreme Court. The fact that these old judges stay in office until they die and have etched that into law, just that fact is a clear abuse of power. And they've taken it so far as to abuse the power so far that they've crumbled our crown. Now, in the olden days, even if they went out drunk, they were fired. So this is judicial system meandering and changing of the law, but we need to go back to term limitations on every single position that we have, or this shadow government to deceit and war will continue. And every damn commercial you'll see will be drug company related or how we need to fight for Israel and the shadow government. So, Article 2, Section 4, the strongest lobbyists seem to be the big pharma, and RFK Jr. will be fighting that evil force. And then the military industrialization complex. And their heavy investment on the side up to at least 10% with BlackRock, but we find war. And again, I think that we need to take all lobbying and make it illegal in the halls of Congress. Why? Well, these are, we're suffering the consequences of being bribed right now. We're all hostage for 52 more days. We're being tour guided by the military industrialization complex together. We're letting people that we love in Israel and their dictator, who's tied into the military industrialization complex because his ethnicity, or he should be a Jew, he's a Zionist. And there is a difference between a Jew and a Zionist. And they're going off on a conquest, and Zelensky is their cousin, and so is Soros, and from Israel up to the Ukraine. All of our money is going there instead of here. We had 500,000 people in California, Oregon, and Washington lose their power from a bomb cyclone. So if you're living out there, I'd like to know, how did the government respond where you live? How did FEMA respond? Were they out there with supplies? Because we have supplies we fast-tracked to a war for Zelensky. What about the war here at home with Mother Nature? We didn't get help from East Palestine to Texas to Florida to Oklahoma. The Cajun Navy and various people in the United States were here to help. But it all goes to Israel. We even pulled out of Afghanistan. Now, treason is defined in Article 3, Section 3 as aiding and abetting the enemy. I know, by the way we pulled out, we left beds, munitions, a lot of stuff there, and we murdered the people that were helping us. And we aided and abetted the Taliban. General Miley, General Austin, Secretary of State Blinken, Joe Biden, they all aided and abetted the Taliban and gave them $85 billion worth of war equipment and 20 years worth of military buildup. We created them. We put them on the map so that they could spread terror to Iran and Pakistan. With what we left behind, just like Obama did with ISIS, when we left all the equipment there for ISIS in Iran. He's going to use the same tactic, okay? And Zelensky, should he have used those missiles? No. And if Jackwagon Joe's going to give him nuclear bombs, is he going to use them? Well, yes, immediately. Why is Congress letting this happen? You need to go on Article 4, Section 4 immediately. You need to get this guy out. He is the mental inadequate person, the disability that needs to be removed from office. And like the old Constitution says, you need to remove him and the vice president because they've jointly together with their cabinet aided and abetted the enemy, which is treason. It also describes if a president has been elected, he has been. We can't have a commander-in-chief that is crazy at the helm. He's trying to blow up the world so we don't go after his son and his crimes and his extortion. This is his smokescreen as he's trying to escape. You know, like let's say when all the guns are coming around, you need that smoke screen to escape. Well, we're held hostage for 52 days as this old dude in the White House is trying to create smoke screens every day so that we don't investigate him. He's really literally trying to blow up the world every day. And I hope we can make it. So there might be martial law, just so you know, with Zelensky until February 7th. We also had 100,000 Ukrainian troops, maybe even 200,000, just flat out surrender as soon as they saw him. We also have NATO troops that were caught killing pro-Russian Ukrainians. So what's going on down there, really? I mean, I can tell you we haven't been on the good side. I don't think we're still on the good side. And I know Macron doesn't care. I know Zelensky doesn't care. He's our puppet. I'm wondering if we are going to go nuclear. We are poking the bear. We're moving nukes in. I can't believe we moved 50 ATACMS in. And understand Putin has more mobile Sarmats, Iskandars, hazelnut trees, Oreshniks, ready to take us down. You know, Zelensky's just not worth it. If anything, I'm tired of hearing about him, period. And so is the world. We need all these lobbyists from the Ukraine and from Israel out of our office. Are we going to give the Ukraine nukes? We have France, Germany, and the United Kingdom that have committed war weaponry against Putin. We see other countries that have safeguarded themselves. He did with those into Russia 8 missiles, 6 missiles, 8 missiles, 5 missiles, then 13 of them in 2 days. So he should be about out. And then we have on video where 5 of them were taken out by Putin. So he immediately has basically gone through 50 ATACMS. When he took them out, understand U.S. troops had to die. And that's not being reported to you and me. Also, how can we be involved in a war when you have to vote on war? We've been in this longer than 2 years. This is a constitutional violation. And a War Powers Act of 1973 violation by Congress and the Senate. When will Biden NATO stop? Russia Generation 2 drones are rewriting the battlefield as we speak. It's the Shahed drone, but it's a totally changed drone with AI, and it's making progress. And it's something that you should be aware of. Viktor Orban, I've told you to listen to him, talk some sense into the people, into NATO before you all get turned into dust, literally. I think we have until January 19th, but this is hostage 52. I'm sitting there with you. We're all being held hostage in our homes at the mercy of Jackwagon Joe, an old decrepit man that can barely walk. Putin claims Trump is not safe. Oh, yeah, he came out on TV and said it. He's worried that the CIA, the FBI, our shadow government, might go after our beloved orange man because they know that their paychecks might get cut during this doge. What do you mean, Chris? Well, I mean that their funding can't be proven for anything good. They're part of this 2 trillion cuts part that Vivek Ramaswamy and, Elon Musk and Marjorie Taylor Greene have identified. You don't say. What about that $725 million? Was about $300 million really just a fraud? And I want you to understand that when they cut that cable line, it's because we don't talk about Kaliningrad and how it sits right in the middle, bordering everybody, even Poland. And it is their warm water port, and that Baltic Sea is very important to Russia. Estonia, their ocean buoys and all their buoys, even around their creeks, were removed by Russia. The Finland Islands now have Russian boats around them. They're encroaching. This is basically a test. And Vladimir Vladimirovich Putin, I want you to know he's given us 24 years of stability. And we've had good old Jackwagon Joe for 50 years. And, it's been nothing but lies. Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister of England, the United Kingdom, has been getting called out by good old Rocket Man, and I don't mean yours, I mean mine, Elon Musk. He's called him basically a homo that's going to drive the United Kingdom into dust, and I completely agree. You need to get rid of that warmonger or anybody that backs Zelensky. Come on, let's get real. When we were kids, unless you're a kid, the Ukraine was Russia, Chernobyl was Russia. In my opinion, the Ukraine has failed to hold itself into proper status to regulate itself to even be a country, and should be divided into Russia and another country. But as it stands as a laundromat war puppetry situation, much like Israel does for the United States. Ukraine is caught killing its own civilians, trying to frame Russia. And so we have the military just affecting, again, 100,000 to 200,000. And I wanted you to know that. So we have a lot of interesting things that are happening while we have Elon. I think Zuckerberg's also joining our team, but they're hanging out with us out in Texas, like coming up with some amazing things. And, you got to escape from reality sometimes when there could be all of these interesting things going on. So we might have Zuckerberg and Musk joining the same side. You never know what they can cook up in a little trailer. And let me see here. Let me go on to some other things. That Baltic battle, remember, cable cut by China. And that was a cable between Germany, Finland, Latvia, Sweden. And that is on the severe horizon right now. And also, I'm going to talk about Poland and Romania and the Ukraine and all the neighbors. Okay, to the north, they got Belarus and Poland and Slovakia, who's with Russia. Hungary's with Russia. Romania's with Russia. Moldova's with Russia. Everybody's flipped sides. we have red lines that have been crossed, and we have U.S. missile bases that are going to get hit clear as day in Poland. In Romania, they want to question the elections. They do. But, I don't think that Facebook or even X had anything to do with it this time. These boys were busy looking at stuff in supermarkets. Now, we have, let's see, only country that borders the Ukraine that backs them, that's tied to us, that ain't in a supermarket, is Poland. And so, got to think about it. Belarus to the north, Poland with the U.S. missile base. Slovakia backs Putin going into this week. He's going to go visit him at a parade. Hungary, he backs Trump and Putin. Romania, their new plan is pro-Putin. Moldova is pro-Russia. The only neighbor that they have left is Poland. Why? Now, Poland borders Russia with Kaliningrad and Lithuania, Belarus, Ukraine, Slovakia, Chechnya, and Germany. Only through Germany do they have an open door, because Chechnya, Slovakia, Ukraine, and Belarus, Lithuania, they're barely hanging on. And these are just facts from the trailer park. Georgia. Boy, there's some massive stuff going on from Georgia, but I don't know if I could pull us away from the trailer park, but we'll see. That's where some genius stuff tends to happen, but Georgia is on fire. We had 500 missiles that are ready for NATO because of Jackwagon Joe. That's the intel from the trailer park. So there we go, 500 missiles right now. They're ready for nuclear war in Poland. Just wanted to give you a little bit of humor before that supposedly happens. And he says this includes 200 KH-101 missiles and 300 Iskander-M ballistic missiles for winter operations. Recent strikes caused widespread power outages in Ukraine. They're 85% out of power, and experts warn of intensified attacks targeting energy grids and key infrastructure. Meanwhile, Russia's new Oreshnik missile has entered mass production, with Putin vowing strikes in response to Western-supplied weapons against Russian territory. It's also supposedly been said that he supplied the Oreshnik to the Iranian military and that they put it even on a submarine. So we have Iranians with the Oreshniks on subs. Heads up, Israel. I think he's leveling out the playing field, and we should all be aware of basically what's going on with that. So there's a lot of treachery that's going on in the world, and I want you to know that, okay? There is, from the northern parts inside of Germany, we know that they're basically looking at keeping themselves, putting themselves together. We know that the United Kingdom, they've lost their ability to have freedom of speech. You have a pansy in there that's getting you involved in a political terror. You can't even fight. You need to have your guns restored to you. America needs its champion back, but at the same time, we need to stop letting our systems turn our countries into reservations. They did this when they took out RFK, JFK, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X. Then they learned, we can just put them into prisons and jails and make it even more scary. They turned the Sulakota Nation into a reservation when they jailed Leonard Peltier. He never killed anybody, but yet how would the FBI have credentials on a sovereign nation? That's like going into Europe. Wouldn't they just be normal people? Yeah, but if you abuse the law. Now, how would you understand that and understand that, America? Well, January 6th, people had the right to peacefully assemble to address their redresses in the government in the election. But they wanted to say Trump was holding an insurrection, when no, the people were addressing their redress and grievances against the election. The only states Kamala Harris won this time are states where there is no voter ID required. Let that sink in. Her husband's a major participator in the military industrialization complex. He's a Jew, and she is an Indian Jew. And no matter what, the bases were covered for certain wars to continue, and I want you to realize that. We need to be about peace and love. That's what I love about Trump. He knows what it feels like to have bullets fly even at him, and he puts his country first. And that's just something that we need to do. There are 500 missiles that he says that he has ready to go. And Iskandar levels 5 ATACMS, and this was just here, just recently. Now, these Generation 2 drones, this is the Shahed drone, but he's put AI on it. Some of them, anyways, he's got a whole grid mapped through these new drones, and they are rewriting the battlefield rules as we speak. I've been saying we need to go into mass production with these drones in the United States and use hemp composites, and also just take these things down with the steady ceramics that we can create with them. But they're as cheap as a couple $1,000s. We could have these things in production, and we're having to use Patriots and things that cost from $100,000 to $200,000 to $1 million to defeat something that is costing the enemy roughly $2,000 to mass produce. And so we have Iran, we have Russia mass producing these, and they're taking out tanks left and right because they can cruise these at any altitude and come in. Why are we not making these as well? And we need to. So we need to mass produce stuff here in America and stop having a government that goes after us for making bullets, because guess what? Then we run out of the 152, 155 millimeter rounds that we need. So the F-16s and ATACMS that we provided have been killed by these things, this new Generation 2. And I wanted you to know that. Waste of money, waste of life. Hate begets hate, just like love creates love. So we are going to be hacked, in my opinion, in the United States by Russia and China in tandem. I think all of our banking and financial systems are going to get hacked. I see them cutting the cables. I think this will be a part of their war strategy. Their BRICS currency is based on a gold standard, so with that dollar, they'll have credibility even in a hacked system, and where our ledgers will then go off into something that's unrecognizable. 1.3 million more troops, North Korea just pledged. 2 million more in China, 3.5 million in Russia. That's 6.8 million. Let's say if NATO had 500,000 to 800,000. You're still outmanned by 6 million people. Even with America coming in, we're still outmassed by, let's say, 5 million people. Turkey's not on our side anymore. Neither are the 22 Arab nations. And that's what's going on in the news right now. So we don't know what is, what's on the good part, what's on the bad part. But we know that there's like serious stuff that is coming. We know that Kamala's having a good time, and she's coping well with losing. And at the same time, Trump is coping well with winning. So he's always winning. He never lost. Don't think he ever lost, and don't think Kamala ever won. So that's kind of one of the things that we're seeing here right now. Now, I wanted you to know something that, and that's how America is never really going to get defeated. We're just not. And it's because when you come and check us out, on a just massive scale, we can make things happen. And if we need to take leaders out, we got one of the best hitmen that there is. So she takes out all of her friends. I like to say this, but who's really scared of it? Little Kim is. Yeah, because we got Hillary Clinton. Even Bill's afraid of Hillary. I know I would be. But so he's getting good at everything that he can, and that's just something I wanted you to know. Will we make it America? Well, we'll see if we can make it. And that's just, part of the things that we have to deal with. So again, I wanted you to know that Mr. Rothschild was found in his house, burned, and I think that's going to be something that's pretty major. We have Trump talking to American farmers, and that's something that was also pretty awesome. And I hope that we do back the farmer. Now, you see these crops and you see how there's a lot of spraying. Well, that's what we had to do when we're growing corn and a lot of Monsanto products. And it's affected not only our health, but our cattle. Now, in Garden City, in Lakin, Kansas, we have Interag, and we've been doing this for IBP for maybe 30 years. And Orville Redenbacher's, Weight Watchers, all these other things. It's called Corporate Farming for America. But has it changed? It's changed pretty heavy. And we can feed the world, but now, after all the years of commercial farming, we have chemical-fied our ground. Now, at first, the thing that helped me put it together was I'd always go to the small town cemeteries, and I would see how we used to live to be about 100 all over throughout the United States, from Texas to Wisconsin, over into the Dakotas and throughout the Midwest. But then, as we started using more chemicals, I think that's the common denominator. Now, when you go to Europe, you can see that they age their meat all over Portugal and Spain. And why can't we do that here? Well, the chemicals are a common denominator, and I wanted you to know that. So it turns out that there's not only these chemicals that are in the meat, but it has an influx with the omega-3s and 6s. Now, this was discovered actually by a guy named Ken Hamilton through my friend Wes Austin. Now, David Dennis was a pretty amazing guy about the live soil, and so was the soil king, my friend Patrick, creating a live soil. But there are certain probiotics that we started adding to the soil, like different mushrooms and different biotics. And Roundup, atrazine, grazon, let's use Roundup for an example. Well, Roundup, it'll stay in the ground for 60 years. So it takes 60 years for Roundup to get out of the ground. So if they say, well, this is organic, but yet it's only been cleaned for 3 years, but it met the organic standards, well, it still has 57 years to get itself clean. So there's a system, and we're going to put it up at lakotabeef.com, but through Wes Austin and our family farm. When we clean the ground and get rid of all the chemicals first, it's a different standard of organic, but yet the brucellosis and the bacteria that causes that, well, we get rid of it. And the ruminating animals like the buffalo and the cattle, well, when you start doing a feed that's already been fermenting, like a fermented feed, it actually is healthier for them because that's what they're doing in one of their stomachs to begin with. So I wanted you to know that we got to go back to old school. We got to clean our farms. We got to stop letting companies like Monsanto and their lobbyists, and stop letting these big pharma companies and their lobbyists and these Monsanto people and these Ukraine people and these Israel people stand in front of the American veteran that's underneath the bridge. This has got to stop. We have so many people coming in, they don't know to help an old lady across the street. They don't know what American values are and how to be polite because they brought their culture here by the swarms, and their culture that they're escaping sucks. We need to protect the American way of life. God said, I need somebody willing to sit up all night with the newborn colt and watch it die and dry his eyes and say, maybe next year. I need somebody who can shape an axe from a persimmon sprout, shoe a horse with a hunk of car tire, who can harness out of a haywire, feed sacks and shoe scraps, who planting time and harvest season will finish his 40-hour week by Tuesday noon, and then pain from tractor back, put in another 72 hours. So God made a farmer. God had to have somebody willing to ride the ruts at double speed to get the hay in ahead of the rain clouds, and yet stop midfield to race to help when he sees the first smoke from a neighbor's place. So God made a farmer. God said, I need somebody strong enough to clear trees, heave bales, yet gentle enough to tame lambs, wean pigs, and tend the pink comb pullets, who will stop his mower for an hour to splint the broken leg of a meadowlark. It had to be somebody who'd plow deep and straight and not cut corners. Somebody to seed, weed, feed, breed, and rake and disc and plow and plant and tie the fleece and strain the milk and replenish the self-feeder and finish a hard week's work with the 5-mile drive to church. Somebody who would bail a family together with the soft bonds of sharing, who would laugh and then sigh and then reply with smiling eyes when his son says that he wants to do and spend his life what his dad does. So God made a farmer. The American farmer will keep us together and hold us strong. We will all be hostages together for 52 more days. Thankfully, Putin is not taking the bait. Thankfully, Iran is not either. But our shadow government has gone so far out of control. We have voted to have our country back. We need to clean our country. We need to clean our fields and make America healthy again. It's got to start from the farm to the table. To make it organic, we just can't let Father Time step in, but we need to use the correct organics and sediments, for God created all. And clean the earth so that we can be clean. And with clean bodies and clean minds, we can stand on our feet. I'm here to tell you that even on a rotation of alfalfa and soy and hemp, that we can be energy independent through those crops combined, and each one of these acres can produce 800 gallons of oil per acre that we could use as biodiesel. The byproduct of that is soap like Neutrogena. We make a kerosene by adding NaOH, lye, and it separates the glyceride molecule. And this is a way in which America can be energy independent. We've got enough natural gas to keep all the lights on for hundreds of years here. But how do we meet the diesel requirement? We do have the gasoline, but it's through our fields. And even using crops like I'm describing through the alfalfa and the hemp, we can remediate the soils and detoxify the land so that even countries like China won't even ban U.S. spaghetti, because we're so toxic that even China refuses to buy what we produce today. And all of our grains and all of our cereals seem to say biological, bioengineered foods. We need to end that. And we need to make everything produce seeds, and we need to stop giving the power of companies, whether it's drug companies pretending they've made something when they didn't, or seed companies saying they made something when they didn't. We need to stop letting them pretend that they are God, because that is a blasphemy itself. And I'm saying it destroy the fabric of all nations, all farms. God has created everything that we need, whether it was valerian root for Valium, hydrochloroquine, whether it was wormwood, for everything that you need. Somehow it came from the dirt. Now, that's either a miracle or we have a grand architect that gave that love and gave that love to you and me. And I just want you to remember that he gave his only begotten Son to each one of us so that we could be saved by that grace. As we stand here as hostages together for 52 more days. Amen.